Hi, Taman. I'm going to present to you how to make graph through this video, okay? The first thing that you want to do is to put your data in two columns. The first column will have the sessions, which is the horizontal axis, right? And the second column will be your frequency or your variable that you are observing, okay? There are different ways to measure depending on the behavior that you're watching, okay? But in this case, when we're going to make a graph for your assignment, and the first graph, which is making eye contact, okay? So the second column will have the frequency. So this is the number of times that the child with autism will make eye contacts. Okay, so for the baseline, we have a total of 7 sessions right here. And for the second phase or intervention phase, you will have a total of 9 sessions from 8 to 16. Okay, so now that you have your data set up this way, then you can proceed to do your graph. Remember, you have to select both of your columns, including the names of the variables. So you go ahead and select them from the beginning to the end, and then you go into the Insert tab, and then you will go and choose Charts, and go to All Charts, pick a line graph, and here you have different options. One option is this one option is this one, and the other option is this one. Apparently, the best option for you is this one. This one is good because it's showing your data in a line graph, except it doesn't have the points. And remember, in the graphs, in the types of graphs that you people work, you would like to have points for each data point, right? So let's go ahead and pick up here. You can select any of these graphs that have dots or points on them, and immediately then you will get your graph with each of the points showing. Okay, so go ahead and select this graph. You will go okay, and now you have like your skeleton of the graph, right? Okay, I'm going to make it a little bigger. Okay, now I'm going to look at at the scales and the axis titles. The first thing I like to do is to put the axis titles. So I'm going to put a check mark right here. And when I put a check mark right here, then these little boxes, which allow me to introduce the names of the axis, appear, and then I can go into the box, erase what says there, and then put the name of this vertical axis. Which is the name of this vertical axis, Taman? Of course, is the frequency. Okay, now I got my name on the vertical axis. I go to my horizontal axis. I go in there by my cursor. I delete those letters, and then I put what name? Sessions. Okay, so now I got axis titles in my chart. Okay, the second thing I would like to look at is the scales, the vertical scale right here and the horizontal scale. Let's first take a look at the horizontal scale because it's just correct. It's just what I want, right? It goes by ones. You have a total of 16 sessions in there. And so you don't have to do anything to that horizontal axis, okay? Okay, now let's take a look at the vertical axis. And you here have an axis whose scale is running by tens. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 60, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90, right? Okay, do I want that or do I want to change that? So how do you decide that? You go into, you go and observe your numbers of frequency, and you see that there are some numbers, for example, this one, and this one, and also this one, and maybe this one that are in fives, they end in fives, right? So it would be a good idea to change this vertical axis to a scale that shows fives, numbers ending in 5. So how do I do that? I go and select the vertical axis. I have my cursor right there, so I go click on it, and then this box appear, right? This box appear, and that's telling me that I'm working in this moment with that vertical axis, right? So I am going to go in here, and I'm going to go here, axis, and then I go in here, and I'm going to select more options. Okay, so here I have something called axis options, and you have a drop scale here. So I will go into that, and then I will pick vertical value axis. So I go and pick this, and now I have the boxes that allow me to format this scale the way I want it. Okay, so the maximum number here is 90. That's okay, because I want a little space up on top of this line, right? And then the units, the major units, they're going by tens, and I want them by 5. So I go in there, I erase that, and I put a 5 in there. So what I'm doing is telling the scale, no, don't run by tens, but run by 5s, right? So I go enter and check out what happens. Now my scale is running by 5s, except that the last number was changed to 85. The maximum number, it was 85. It was changed, and that's okay, because I still have a little space here. Okay. Okay, so now that I arranged that, I am going to get out of there. I just click my cursor any place outside the graph. Okay, so now I would like to introduce my title, but first maybe it's a good idea to put a vertical line to separate the baseline and the intervention phase, right? And remember, what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to make this graph a little bigger, okay, like that, and I'm going to go into the insert tab, and then I'm going to pick shapes right here, shapes. So I go in there, and I will pick a line right there. I see a line right here, okay, and I'm going to put that line. See, I see like a plus sign in there. That's telling me that when you click your mouse, then it is going to start drawing a line. So I know that baseline are 7 sessions, so I will have to pick a line that goes through here. So I'm going to put my cursor right in there, and I'm going to draw the line, right? Okay, right there. Okay, it needs to be moved a little bit to the right, right? Because it's not quite on top of that point there. So with the arrows in my keyboard, I'm going to move it a little bit, twice. Now I got a nice line. Up here you have some alternatives for formatting that line. Maybe you think that line is too skinny. You want to make it a little bigger, a little fatter, a little, that it shows more. So maybe you go in there, and then you will pick maybe this one. Okay, so now you have a nice looking line right there that separates your baseline from your intervention line. Okay, so now remember to change the chart title and what? Make it 2 titles in one. Okay, and so I'm going to go into that box and I'm going to erase this because that's not correct, right? And what am I going to write? I'm going to write baseline. Then I'm going to give it a lot of space. I go enter, space, a lot of space. Okay, maybe there. And then I will write intervention. Okay, so take a look. Now I have the 2 words that I need, baseline and intervention. I need to separate them a little more, right? So I put my cursor right here in the middle, and then I go space, and I separate this until I like the way it looks, okay, like that, and then I get out. And there I have my beautiful graph, okay? So the only thing that I'm missing here is the axis lines. So I'm going to try to put them in. I don't know how to do that well, but I will try. So I will select my vertical axis and I will go axis options and see if there is something that allows me to, let me pick this one, vertical axis, major grid lines, and see what it does. Okay, well, it's just putting lots of horizontal axis at each line, so that's not what I want. Okay, let me see. So vertical axis, no. Okay, maybe what I need to find is, okay, so here it says line and it says here automatic, right? Okay, I'm going to change it to solid and see what happens. Solid, okay, now it gave me a solid line. I discovered just that right now, okay? So here you have a solid line for your vertical axis, and I'm going to do the same for my horizontal axis. So I go select that. It's a little bit difficult sometimes when you cannot do stuff within your graph. Put your cursor always outside, someplace outside the graph, and that'll allow you to, to go back into the graph and maybe select what you need, okay? So right now I cannot. So let me go in here because I can always take it from this plus sign, right? I'm going to go axis and, axis. So I don't know what happened. Oh, okay, right here. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go more options. And now I am in the horizontal axis. See, it's selected. It has like a box around the numbers and it's showing automatic. So I'm going to put solid line. Okay, now I put my cursor outside the graph to take a look, and here I have my graph as I wanted. Okay, this is the end of this video, just to show you how to make a graph in a fairly easy, fast, efficient way in Excel. Okay, thank you, Taman. Okay, I'm going to add one more thing to this graph, and it's my vertical grid lines. And how do I do that? I go to my plus sign and I look for grid lines and go in there, and I see that the primary major horizontal is checked, right? That check mark represents all these lines that are here. Now I want to pick primary major vertical grid lines. So now I have a grid line. I like that grid line. If I want to make a finer grid line, then I will put primary minor horizontal and primary minor vertical. And now you have a beautiful graph with a nice grid line underneath.